Have you ever wondered what really happens when you decide to become intimate with someone? I'm not talking about pleasure, chemistry, or the moment itself, but about something deeper, something invisible, something that changes you inside without you even realizing it. Did you know that every intimate act, every gentle touch, every meaningful exchange leaves a lasting and profound mark? An energy, an exchange that often carries more than you can ever imagine. The Bible tells us about the importance of taking care of our body and soul, saying that we are temples of the Holy Spirit. First letter to the Corinthians, verse 16. And if our body is a temple, who should really have access to it? When we intimately give ourselves to another person, we allow them to enter our energy field, our essence. It's more than just a physical act. It's an exchange of energy. And just as a sacred temple needs protection, our energy also needs protection. Have you ever felt something different after being with someone? As if suddenly something inside you changed without any explanation. An inexplicable emptiness, an uncaused sadness, or even a false euphoria. It's as if something was taken from you, or something foreign was placed inside you. It's not just your mind playing tricks. It's real. And this energy exchange is a reality that few people are aware of. In the story of Samson and Delilah, we see a vivid example of how intimacy can affect our spiritual strength. Samson, who was considered invincible because of his divine strength, became vulnerable when he completely surrendered to Delilah. He thought he was just giving himself physically, but in doing so, he was also giving away his life energy, his essence. The result? The loss of your strength and your freedom. Intimacy goes beyond the flesh. It's an invisible contract, an exchange of energies that isn't easy to break. And this exchange can make you stronger or weaker, depending on who you allow into your sphere of activity. But why does this happen? Why do some people often feel empty after a night with someone? Why are there those who can't fully forget another person even after a relationship has ended? Even though time goes on, they are still in an emotional trap, as if something binds them in an inexplicable way. This is what we call energy bonds. It's not just longing or emotional attachment. It's a deep spiritual connection that we often don't even suspect. And these connections, when they are unhealthy, can keep us stuck in the past, in traumas, or even in someone else's negativity. In the story of Ruth and Naomi, there's a powerful lesson where Ruth decides to follow Naomi, even after all the hardships. Ruth is connected not just to the woman, but to her energy, her values, her spirituality. What did she bring exactly with her? The lineage connected to King David and then to Jesus. The closeness, or rather the bonds that form, are stronger than we imagine. They go beyond what we see. They shape us spiritually, and can influence our destiny. And here comes the crucial moment. By letting someone into your life in such an intimate way, you also allow them to leave some of their energy with you. And we don't always know what that person carries within them. Does it bring light and healing, or shadows and unresolved trauma? Do you want to carry what she brings with her? Like a crystal glass, we are the recipients of everything that is given to us. But there are glasses filled with light, peace, and clarity. And there are glasses filled with shadows, disappointments, and traumas. When you give yourself to someone, you drink their energy, and often, without even realizing it, you carry those shadows within you. And over a longer period of time, this can eventually lead to a sense of feeling empty, fragmented, and lost among a variety of various energies and diverse influences. The Holy Bible teaches us to be cautious and mindful about the people we choose to associate and interact with. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23 says, "Above all else, it is important to diligently guard your heart, for absolutely everything that you do ultimately flows from it." Our heart, our soul and spirit, that's the essence of who we are, and we must protect it wisely and carefully. What happens when we don't protect our energy? When do we allow someone to enter our sphere without realizing the spiritual consequences of that? What do you choose to carry? When you decide to give yourself to someone, you enter into an exchange that goes beyond the physical. You give access to your energy, and the question remains, who is this person? What does she bring with her? And most importantly, what will she leave in you? It's not just about the moment. It's about what will ultimately remain afterwards. Every choice we make leaves an impression. But what do we truly do when that mark starts to show? How we can tell whether the energies we bring into our lives are beneficial or harmful? It is time to think about how we can truly protect our essence, understand the energies we exchange, and most importantly, how we can heal those that have already marked us. Because in the end, it all comes down to the question: are you ready to carry the energies you bring with you? When we think about the energies we exchange, when we interact closely with another person, we need to understand that as humans, we are not isolated islands. The energies around us have the ability to shape us in ways we are often not even aware of. And this is where the true impact begins to show. When you share your intimacy with someone, you are not just sharing a moment. You are sharing a part of your soul, your essence. The Bible tells us how connections and bonds can affect our spiritual life. When we see the story of Abraham, God called him to leave his land and his father's house. Genesis 12:1. And that separation was not only physical, but spiritual. God knew that by changing Abraham's place, he was also changing his spiritual connections, his energies. Sometimes the people around us, especially those who influence us physically, can deeply change us, often without us even realizing it, the weight we carry with us from each encounter. Remember how you felt after an intimate encounter with someone who did not bring you the peace and harmony you expected. Suddenly, that feeling of euphoria turns into something much heavier. It may be an inexplicable sadness, a feeling of longing that makes no sense. It's not just psychological. It's an energetic reaction, a reflection of what you've exchanged. And often we carry these energies within us, not knowing how to deal with them. For example, in the story of Lot, we see how he was influenced by the choice he made regarding his surroundings. He decided to live in Sodom, a city full of sin, and this had deep consequences in his life. When the city was destroyed, Lot, his wife and his daughters, not only lost the city, but also part of his world and his essence, reflecting the spiritual weight of being connected to the wrong places and people. Genesis 19. Lot thought that physical and geographical connections wouldn't affect his spirituality. But soon he discovered that the energy of the people and the place where we live can change us, both for better and for worse. But the most impressive thing is the realization that when we share our intimacy, we are not just connecting our bodies. We are connecting our stories, our past, our wounds, our sufferings, and our joys. Essentially, intimacy is a deep intertwining of our energies. Every time you give yourself to someone, you are sharing not just parts of your body, but also your life, your emotional and spiritual energy, and that's something that can't be easily erased. Have you ever noticed how, after a relationship, certain traumas or emotional patterns can resurface? It's like you're reliving the experience of that other moment, that other person. This happens because intimacy is not only physical, it creates spiritual connections that do not break overnight. It's like fabric that, once stitched together, can't be undone without leaving marks. These spiritual imprints are reflected in our choices, our reactions, and often in our future relationships. In the Gospel of Matthew chapter 7, Jesus teaches us, "Do not give what is holy to dogs." What are these holy things? Our essence, our spirit, our energy. When we carelessly give away something so valuable, we ultimately allow our peace to be stolen and our energy to be drained. And often we don't realize this until we are already overburdened with responsibilities and obligations, until we carry an invisible weight that we were never meant to bear. Imagine for a moment that you are like a glass. Every person you are close to seems to put something inside you. What did this person bring with them? Light or darkness, to heal or to hurt? A person full of light and peace will bring something constructive, something that adds to you. But a person carrying unhealed wounds, insecurity, and disappointment can pass those shadows on to you. And suddenly you feel that something inside you has changed, without understanding why. You may have absorbed more than you think. In the Bible, we have clear examples of how energy can be transferred and how it directly affects our future. For example, King David, although he was a man after God's own heart, was deeply affected by his emotional and personal choices, especially when he got involved with Bathsheba, 2 Samuel 11. This decision had consequences that affected his life and his reign. Sin, or rather a wrong choice, has not only physical consequences, but also spiritual ones. Their value goes beyond what we see, and that's why we need to be vigilant about who we choose to share our closeness with. Because these energies don't just disappear easily. When you connect with someone on this level, you also link their story, their emotions, their wounds, and often their shadows. What did this person bring with them? What emotional and spiritual charge does it carry? And are you ready to carry that as well? You are now invited to start reflecting on the energies you have allowed into your life. How do you feel after each intimate experience? Do you feel perhaps lighter or maybe more whole, more at peace? Or do you feel heavier, more empty, as if something has been taken from you? Because in the end, what really matters is not just the instant pleasure, but the lasting impact that this exchange has on who you are spiritually, emotionally, and energetically. Now imagine that by choosing more wisely whom you give your intimacy to, you are also deciding to protect your essence, your energy, and above all, your inner world. The Bible teaches us this. We must be good stewards of what God has given us, including our energy, our body, and our soul. And when we consciously choose to let go of these things, we protect ourselves. Just like when we wisely choose whom to offer our love and trust. But how can we protect ourselves from these invisible influences that often affect us without us even noticing? How do we know what is actually being transmitted when we share our intimacy? This leads us to an even deeper reflection on protecting our essence, about something that, if we are not completely and fully aware of it, can unintentionally lead us to carry certain energies that were never ours. Now, as we reflect on the invisible impact that intimacy can have on our soul and spirit, a question remains. How can we protect ourselves from all these energies and influences that we exchange without even realizing it? How can we live consciously, knowing that every intimate act, essentially, is a contract, an exchange of energies and impacts that shape who we are in our daily lives? The Bible teaches us to be careful about what we allow into our lives. In 1 Corinthians 15:33, we read, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals." When we become aware of whom we let into our sphere, with whom we share intimacy, we are making a choice not just for the present, but also for what we carry into the future. Intimacy is not just physical, it is emotional and spiritual. It touches something deep within us, something that goes beyond the skin, beyond the body. Now just think about this. How can we live more consciously, even for a moment? How can we protect our essence, as God teaches us, without allowing energies that do not belong to us to overwhelm us? The first step is to acknowledge the power of choice. The Bible teaches us that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. If our body, our soul, and our energy are precious, then we need to choose wisely to whom we give these treasures. Every time we surrender unconsciously, we open the door to something sacred. When we decide to enter into an intimate connection with someone, we share our story, our wounds, and our healing. And this exchange can change us, for better or for worse. The problem isn't intimacy itself, but the unconsciousness with which we approach it. When we live consciously, recognizing the importance of our choices, we can live in harmony with who we are and who God calls us to be. It's important to understand that intimacy is a reflection of what we cultivate within ourselves. If we are looking for something superficial, just physical, what are we nourishing in our soul? What are we carrying within us, even without realizing it? And how will it affect our spiritual future? In Proverbs 4:23, we are indeed told, "Above all else guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." The heart is truly the key to understanding who we are and what we allow into our lives. Protecting the heart means protecting our essence, our very energy, our world. In essence, if you feel like you're carrying someone else's energies, feeling heavy, empty, or like something has been taken from you after an intimate encounter, that's a sign that it's time to rethink your choices. The Bible speaks about the importance of cleansing, cleansing our heart and spirit, as mentioned in Psalm 51:10. The good news is that there is always a chance to restore and protect your essence, to heal what has been wounded, and to choose wisely who we connect with and what we bring into our lives. I invite you to deeply reflect on what you have allowed into your life. Ask yourself, does this person, this moment in your life, bring me truly closer to God or push me deeply away? Is this connection I'm forming significantly healthy, or will it leave a permanent mark that I can't undo? What are you truly willing to carry? Intimacy is an exchange that lasts longer than the present moment. And living with awareness and respect for our spiritual energy helps us maintain our peace, our light, and our balance. Now, I want to hear your opinion. How do you feel about such a choice in your life? Have you ever noticed how someone's energy affects your own? How did the process of protecting your essence go? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments if you want, anonymously, and let's continue this important conversation about how to live more consciously. And of course, if this video touched your heart, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share it with those who you think should hear these truths. I deeply appreciate your company and your willingness to reflect on these important questions. Remember that how we live, our spiritual intimacy goes beyond the physical. This is a direct reflection of our heart. Let's move towards a fuller, more conscious life and closer to God. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.